Hi, in this video we're going to learn how to include for loops in our microbit programs. Let's go! As a refresher, a loop is a control structure that allows us to repeat a set of commands. They are helpful because they shorten our code and make it easier to alter our programs. There are two different types of loops that we use in different situations. In this lesson, we'll look at for loops. We use a for loop when we know the amount of times we want to repeat the commands. For example, we could repeat commands 3 times. A loop is like brushing your teeth every day, the same steps repeated. To write a for loop in Python, we use this syntax. Let's explain this a bit. First, we need to start with the keyword for written in lowercase letters. Next, we declare the variable that will count through our for loop iterations by simply writing the name of the variable we want to use. Usually, we use I as the variable name, but anything can be used. Python's for loop uses the range function to define how many times to repeat. The variable I automatically increases from 0 up to, but not including, the stop value. In this example, the loop repeats 10 times. We will explore the not including rule more in a moment. Every line that's indented below repeats each time. This is called the loop body, or code block. Before moving forward, let's take a minute to explain in a bit more detail how the range function works in Python. The range function gives us a sequence of numbers. By default, it starts at 0 and stops before the last number. For example, in this first bullet point, range 5 starts at 0 and ends at 4, counting by 1 each time. In the second bullet, we see that you can start range at a number other than 0. Range 2, 6 starts at 2 and ends at 5, counting by 1 each time. In this third bullet, we see that you can also count backwards. Range 10, 0, -2 starts at 10 and counts down to, but not including, 0 by moving down 2 each time. -2 represents the step of this range, or how much the range is going to move in between each number. Here, notice that we can use the variable I inside our commands. The variable I controls which LED lights up. Each time through the loop, I increases by 1, so the LED moves to the right. The first time, I is equal to 0. The second time, I is equal to 1, and so on up to 4. So this loop lights up 1 LED in each column across the middle row. Let's take a look at another example. If we had this for loop, our variable I is starting at 4, continuing to, but not including, 0, and subtracting 1 from its value each iteration. Every time the loop runs, the LED at coordinate point I, 2 is lit. On the first run, I has a value of 4, so the LED at 4, 2 is lit. I then loses 1, so it has a value of 3, which is greater than 0, so the code runs and LED 3, 2 is lit. I is subtracted by 1 again, so it becomes 2. The LED at 2, 2 is lit. I loses another 1, so it becomes 1, which is greater than 0, so the program runs and LED at 1, 2 is lit. I then loses another 1, so it becomes 0, which is not greater than 0, so the loop stops. In this final example, we start at 4 and count down to include 0 by using -1 as the second argument instead of 0. We move down by 1 each time in this example as well. In this lesson, we learned how to use for loops in our programs. Now it's your turn to explore loops in your own microbit programs.